Well, Kristen recommends our coaching. Thank you, Kristen.
Hey, Carly.
Absolutely. She's going to say, absolutely. I'm so loving being connected with Carly and Baltimore County Public Library. She's doing amazing things and I'm learning a lot from it. And it was very interesting. Our last meeting, we have kind of flipped resources. So she's having great luck working with the Small Business Development Center and having a hard time reaching out to SCORE. And I'm having an amazing opportunity to interact with our SCORE mentors. We have a tremendous relationship there, and I'm not getting a whole lot of response from our whatever what I just named. So,
with your Small Business Development Center.
Yes, that. We had a fantastic, exciting opportunity this June to offer our youth an entrepreneurship academy, and that was in partnership with Dallas SCORE, and it was so much fun. And our kids, 9th through 12th grade, got to learn about entrepreneurship, and it was fabulous. So eventually, maybe I can share that in some more formal way. Thanks for letting me speak a minute.
Yeah, I would love that. Actually, that's an announcement I say every month, and I forgot to say it. If people want to present to this group, we usually try to feature someone every month that's working on something interesting. Or, last month we did teen and youth entrepreneurship. We featured some programs that were highlighted in the Libraries That Built Business book. So if you ever want to just talk about your program and what you're working on, I'd love to just send me an email. I'd love to have you. Anybody else want to share briefly today? Go for it.
I will, Megan. This is Peter. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. So yes, we're in this union too. Carly has been invaluable. We decided months ago to try to launch our own first small business program. So we've got 3 classes on the docket, and we're kind of forming the curriculum right now, but that's going really well. We have 7 or 8 partners that have agreed to participate, including SCORE. But we've also picked up the African Chamber of Commerce, the Latina Entrepreneurs Academy, which is a local group, an economic development wing from the state of Ohio has joined us, local Chamber of Commerce, and then some small business owners who are going to provide some insight on their successes and failures. And then one particularly interesting participant is a mother and son duo who decided during the pandemic they should launch a business. So he just out of the blue at age 11 whipped together a healthcare app for mom, and now they're off and running. So they're going to be part of our teachers, part of our classes too. So we're looking forward to it.
Wow, super cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I'll chime in quickly and say the coaching program has been so rewarding for me, getting to meet and see what these other libraries are working on. And I've learned, I think, equally as much as it or more from the meetings as Peter and Kristen here. So my final chime in.
Thanks, Carly. Yeah, we have the Carly and the Stacy fan club here today. So that's awesome.
Checks in the mail, Rosalind. Checks in the mail.
I'll be looking for it.
Anybody else have something going on this summer they want to share with the group?
This is my first time with the group here, but our library system has revamped its career center job resources website, and we're getting ready to open that up for business in about a month. And then as well as that, we've branded Wednesdays at our regional library as working Wednesdays, and every Wednesday at our main branch, but also it will be expanding it to some of the smaller branches. We're going to be concentrating on resources, either classes, workshops, or internal workshops for people for finding jobs or advancing to the next level in their current career, or laterally moving. It's pretty exciting. We're working Wednesdays. We were like, yay! Ooh, we're so clever, So we're getting started with doing that. And so today is all of the, I met with everybody who's involved in it. And we're putting together our newsletter / information to send out to our community, letting them know that Wednesdays are for getting your crap together and getting a job.
Exciting. That's awesome. We'll have to hear how it goes in a few months. Anybody else? Okay, I think I'm going to turn it over to Emily and Lauren. They're going to share a little bit about what they do as business librarians. Emily's with the University of Chicago and Lauren's at Penn State, and talk to us about BRASS. And I'll let them tell you what BRASS is, but if you're unfamiliar with BRASS, it's a part of the ALA's RUSA. So Emily and Lauren, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you everyone for being here this afternoon. We have some formal, well, not formal. We have some slides that we'll pull up as kind of a background to our conversation in a moment. So we'll get to those in a second, and I'll let Emily introduce herself as well. But first, I just want to say thank you to Megan for making this possible, for facilitating this. She and I had a great conversation a couple of months back, and we started figuring out that there are a lot of nice points of intersection and connection between the work of Libraries Build Business and BRASS, and we just wanted to find more of those opportunities to share and collaborate, just get to know each other better. I also want to thank Stacy Goddard out there for making that connection and putting me in contact with Megan in the first place. So thank you, Stacy. I really appreciate that. So yeah, we're all about building connections already. So I'm going to pull up our slides and give you just kind of a brief introduction to us. Let me put these up so that you can actually see them better. Oh my gosh. Okay, there, that's what I wanted. So hopefully you're seeing these slides. So I am the past chair of BRASS, and I'll get into the nitty gritty of what BRASS is in a moment. But in my day job, I'm a business librarian at Penn State. At Penn State, we are fortunate to have many people that do business librarianship. And we, in fact, have a business librarian who focuses just on entrepreneurship. So we have an entrepreneurship librarian dedicated. So that's a really great benefit to have. And I think it speaks to, my institution's support of entrepreneurship and, wanting to grow our economic development in communities across our state. Also wanted to share some of my own experiences working with entrepreneurs, working with entrepreneurship a little bit, because as a business librarian, I think of myself as someone who works with the users of business information, people who do business, people who want to do business, and in my case, working mostly with students. So I really think of business librarianship encompassing anyone who works with the people who need business information, need business information sources, need business services. So some of my experiences with entrepreneurship include working with the Small Business Development Center. We did a program that I was really excited to be a part of, where we worked with financial literacy for entrepreneurs. So that's another area of interest of mine, is financial literacy. And I saw Kristen is here, who I know through our financial literacy stuff. But anyways, we were able to do a couple of sessions there, kind of a beginner financial literacy for entrepreneurs, kind of getting started. We had students attending who wanted to, eventually start their own business, maybe students who had ideas about a business that they wanted to develop. And we were going over kind of those basics that they might need to know about their business finances. What's going to come up in a credit check, what to pay attention to. And we had a more advanced session that was more kind of financial analysis that a business might need to grow. So it was really exciting to be able to be a part of that. And I'm also glad that at my institution, we have a librarian dedicated to entrepreneurship as well. So again, I just think there's a lot of great connections between the work that I do as a business librarian and my colleagues do. And I want to turn it over to Emily now to just share some of her story.
Thanks, Lauren. She really summed up a lot of the connections really well, but I'll just add a little bit. So I'm Emily Treptow, and I'm at University of Chicago. My title is Business and Economics Librarian for Instruction and Outreach. We have a smaller team than Penn State. It's a mighty team of 2. So if anyone was to be kind of the quote unquote entrepreneurship librarian, it would be me. I am a mentor at the Polsky Center, which is University of Chicago's kind of, center for entrepreneurs. It's where their incubator is. It's where I, before pandemic, met in person with local entrepreneurs. And then during the pandemic, they actually opened up their mentorship program really to anyone. So that's been really great. I've been able to meet with people kind of nationally, anyone who finds us and jumps on Zoom. So, so that's been, and I will say that working with entrepreneurs is one of my favorite parts of my job. And U Chicago runs quite a few new venture challenges where different groups of people can submit to get funding. And so we have one for our college students, one for our alumni, one for kind of different sectors. And so I help support those. And I've also worked with the center to provide some virtual over Zoom workshops that share resources that are available. I use Chicago Public Library resources because of just the Chicago centric, but a lot of you all have similar resources as well as government resources. So just things that are really more openly available to anyone to use. So that's just a few of the highlights. And thank you so much for having us. It's already been fun learning about the different programs people have been doing just in the announcements today.
And I fully agree with that. It really has been fun to hear. I'm so excited that I can barely speak. So we want to tell you a little bit more about BRASS. For Emily and I, this is kind of our professional home. Emily's the current chair of BRASS. I'm the past chair. So professional organization that means a lot to us. It is officially the Business Reference and Services section. I'm not sure how well the name really conveys everything that it is, so I'll tell you a little bit more about it. We are a professional community with expertise on, I like to think, all aspects of business reference, business services, business programming within libraries. We have members from public libraries, academic, corporate. There are a few of them around there. So we're 600 plus members strong. And we are a section of the Reference and User Services Association. So our focus is really that kind of public services orientation, helping people essentially, whatever kind of business information needs they have, whether they're, in my and Emily's case, maybe more students looking for business information, members of the public in our communities, whoever needs to do business. We are made up of 16 committees, and being chair was just such a great experience to see all of the work that the committees do, all of the work of these volunteers to make our programs happen, to make our resources, and just to kind of support our members all year long. There's more information on our website, and I can add that to the chat in a little bit, but I really can only handle one screen at a time for the moment, so I'm not going to be watching the chat. So that is a little bit about what BRASS is. If you are unfamiliar with it, or you haven't heard much about it, I think of it as a place for anyone in libraries and business at that intersection. So hopefully, we'll capture your interest. But to tell you a little bit more about BRASS, as I mentioned, I feel like as chair, I got to see just how much work these committees do to make all of the kind of benefits of BRASS possible. You don't have to memorize these. There's no test at the end of this. This is just to kind of give you an idea of kind of all the work going into making BRASS activities possible. And I'm going to highlight some work of some of these committees. So I'll tell you a little bit about them. We have our Business Reference and Academic Libraries Committee. And that puts on our brass symposiums twice a year. These are like online free learning opportunities. We have our Business Reference and Public Libraries Committee that focus on those business services to public library patrons, constituents. Our Business Reference Services discussion group hosts about monthly discussions, kind of like this, but instead, with among brass members, and we just kind of talk shop, talk about what problems we're having, talk about, opportunities, all of the good stuff, and just getting advice from people who are doing the similar type of work at other organizations. We also have a lot of awards. So if you want to win an award, maybe travel to conference sometime. Just want to throw out there that we do have several great travel awards to look out for. But again, we have over, let's see, maybe I think we figure like 110 or so brass members contributing to the work of these committees and just making it all possible. So this is just the work of all of our great colleagues. I'd like to share also just some highlights. There's probably many, many more ways in which brass and libraries build business might intersect. And, hopefully from our conversations today, we can learn about more of them. But I just wanted to highlight some that, that we kind of saw already in our work so far. So some of our recent programs have included the brass program at the ALA 2022 annual conference. So every year, you may have seen on the previous slide, brass has a conference program planning committee. Every year we do a program on different topics. This year was Build Back Stronger, Build Back Smarter. We featured 4 librarians who, 2 in public libraries, 2 in academic libraries that have partnerships with their local business communities. I think it was a really, really exciting session. A lot of great ideas were shared. I heard words like inspiring being thrown out, but they did really, really wonderful work. We've also, this year, our virtual program, RUSA had a virtual forum, and our Trish Hall, who is a public librarian and was the chair of our Public Libraries Committee, led this session, Public Libraries and Academic Libraries Working Together to Transform Communities with Business Resources. Again, kind of showing that connection between public, academic, and our business communities. I referenced our fall symposium a bit earlier. Again, this is one of our kind of free programs, virtual. And this past year, there's a presentation called Innovation Never Stops, Libraries in the Venture Lab. This is actually out of University of Cincinnati, and I heard we have someone from Cincinnati, so maybe there's another point of connection to make there. But they were discussing the work that they did with their accelerator, business accelerator. We also have a whole team, our education committee that does LibGuides. So we have LibGuides on just about every business subject imaginable, accounting and marketing and whatnot, and including small business and entrepreneurship. We also have, again, I mentioned those discussions every month. And a lot of times we talk about entrepreneurship related topics because people are trying to figure out what kind of programs they can do or how they could support entrepreneurs in their community. I want to throw it to Emily because she is leading the program planning this year. Or for next year. Megan mentioned already, it's time to get those proposals in.
Yeah, well, we have a wonderful chair of the program planning committee, so I would like to say that she is really leading the effort. But yes, I wanted to make sure to let all of you know that our theme for this year, we're really hoping to actually build on the program from 2022 for anyone who was able to attend it. There were some really amazing panelists who were doing great equity and social justice work along with their support of local business communities. And so our very loose theme for this year, because we're early in the planning process, is EDI and business librarianship. And my experience in ALA, honestly, at annual this year is that the public libraries have been leading this effort and and so I'd be really excited to hear of ideas from the Library Builds business community of people doing exciting work in the EDI space, connected to business librarianship, supporting local businesses, et cetera. So just kind of that plug that we're really interested in that, and you can email me and I'll put my email in the chat, but yeah, so just excited to connect with more of you at these monthly meetings. I joined the Slack already, and yes, Chicago is great in the summer. So I hope that I mean, I'm a little biased, but I hope that to meet many of you in person at ALA Annual 2023 as well. So thank you.
So I thought just kind of lay it all out there, ways to get involved, ways that we can collaborate, and hopefully we can generate some more ideas here today together. But if if it's piqued your interest and you'd like to join BRASS, you can do so by registering or a membership with the Reference and User Services Association. Once you're a RUSA member, you can join BRASS with no extra charge. If you do decide to become a member, you could become a volunteer on one of those excellent committees that I referenced and kind of be a part of building those programs, building those resources. So these are typically 2 years. And if you're interested, I think Emily would be the person to talk to for the moment. If you'd like to get on a committee for this year, or we'll do, we'll be putting people on next year's committees in the spring. But you don't have to be a member to engage with BRASS as well. We'd love to have you participate in other ways. You are welcome to show up at our monthly BRASS discussions. We have one coming up next Friday, and I can share that information again once I can see the chat screen and everything, and I can also post it to the Slack. So you're welcome to join and just kind of see what the conversation is all about. We also have a lot of different BRASS events, and I'm hoping some of them, at least from what you've seen so far, might, pique your interest again, and kind of see those connections and build some further connections. But we do have that BRASS symposium that we hold twice a year. That's free, totally virtual. And then we also have different BRASS webinars and other events that may require, a fee and registration. If you are a BRASS member, you would get a discount on those kinds of things. But we do have those kind of professional development opportunities too. And then finally, I think we should be cross-promoting. I think we should be working together, maybe even collaborating on conference proposals. I don't know, who knows? So I just thought I'd throw that out there as well. So, any Libraries Build Business events that you think, based on this little presentation of sorts that Emily and I have given, might be of interest to BRASS members, please share them. We're happy to promote them as well. So kind of back and forth as much as possible. So that's our short little formal presentation. I thought now we could just kind of talk questions, have more discussion, just kind of hear from y'all. So I'm going to stop my share now and see what's going on in chat. Okay. So I'm trying to make my way to. Okay, so I saw the first question that came through. Are the financial literacy classes something your library developed on their own or using a known resource? We've kind of done so many different things that I can kind of lay out several of the different options we've done. We mostly have reached out to local experts. So say it's the Small Business Development Center, say it's a local bank. We have a financial literacy center on our campus now. So kind of reaching out to those different entities and building a program together that will work for our students. So that's kind of how we've developed them mostly. On occasion, we've done ones where it's us trying to be the experts, but that's kind of there are limitations to that because I don't happen to be a financial professional. So for those we've done things like leading a book club was a good one that we did, where I felt like I was within my own knowledge and expertise without drifting out of that. So I don't know if that rambly answer answered that question. But feel free to chime in if not. But there's some good conversations related to using Jumpstart and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Farming business resources. Let's see. Federal Reserve Bank. There's lots of good sharing already in the chat. You didn't need to listen to me ramble. You got all kinds of good stuff going on here. Hey, fantastic. Okay, question here. Lauren, do you work with Happy Valley Launchbox? So that's one of the things that I don't personally do, but the entrepreneurship librarian here, yes, indeed, she does. Yes, so she'll do events with them, coordinate with them, collaborate, again, cross promote their programs. So yes, and definitely she fields a lot of questions coming out of them, those reference questions as well. So that's a big yes for my colleague. Other questions? Did anybody, were people like familiar with BRASS before we came here and said the word BRASS a million times? I got the question, what does BRASS see as the most useful entrepreneurship equipment, library of things? It's a good question. Do you have any ideas, Emily?
I'm intrigued by the phrasing entrepreneurship equipment. We definitely don't deal much with like physical resources at UChicago Library. We're more in like, the database space, library resource space. So, and I know that that there are some exciting physical resources that libraries provide, and that even, Polsky Center does have, like 3D printing, and, they're doing more of that, but it's kind of through their center. And so we're not directly involved with those processes. So I feel like the question was more geared towards those kind of resources. And so I just can't speak super well to that, but on campus, we do have some very cool, like, spaces where folks can be building prototypes, not just with a 3D printer, but like woodworking, different materials. So that is provided through our, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. And actually about 5 years ago, there was like a uniting of different offices and it's now, there was a Polsky Center and now it just is, that's the big umbrella name, but like our tech transfer office, and some different related units on campus are all under one. But so yeah, there are some cool spaces where local folks can, really be physically creating some of their ideas.
And so I just realized this question was from Rachel, and Rachel, we connected via Slack about our One Button Studios. And I had mentioned that I feel like at Penn State, we have One Button Studios and we've kind of expanded them at different campuses. We have a lot of campuses across the state of Pennsylvania. There's a lot of Penn States everywhere. But something that I feel like we haven't leveraged it enough is how to use those One Button Studios to support our business clientele, to support, whether it's the students or thinking also about our community entrepreneurs. So if anyone wants to talk more, if they do have One Button Studios and have used them to, this fullest extent, I would love to hear about that here.
I would be interested to hear about that as well. I am kind of ramping up for the fall to start promoting our library of things to entrepreneurs. And so I'm working with what we've already bought for the library things and hoping to get some more input. But one of the things that I think is most exciting is we have a kind of photography kit that's everything but the camera. So it's a green screen and some lighting, some professional lighting with the silver umbrellas. So you can check that out if you want to take pictures of your products. We have a Cricut machine that you can borrow, and also like a professional mic, like a nice podcast mic. So those are the things I'm thinking of promoting to our entrepreneurs to say, see, you don't have to invest in this, or you can try it out before you invest in it. Honestly, the other thing that's gotten the most interest is the bubble machine. And a couple of them said, oh, when I have events, I can borrow the bubble machine and then we can have bubbles coming out the door of the store. I'm like, sure, whatever. You realize that you're going to have a little layer of bubble slime over everything, but it is very effective. It does draw people in when they see bubbles coming.
That sounds amazing. The bubbles. And also just like what you're able to offer there is very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. We have a metal detector too. A lot of people are interested in that.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, we definitely do not have like a developed library of things at my library.
Ours is still just getting started. So I'm going to see what is popular with entrepreneurs. We have a bunch of camping gear and snowshoes and other kind of sporting gear. Anything that the carriers could pick up and put on the vans. So people keep asking for kayaks because this is Southern Oregon. And I'm like, no, we can't fit a kayak on the courier van.
I also wanted to address a question that I saw, and I think Rachel sort of addressed it here. The One Button Studios, what are they? And Rachel provided a helpful link. And yes, we would love to hear more about your studios, Rachel, but feel free to share if you like. I don't mean to put you on the spot. But the One Button Studios are kind of designed to make it really easy to do like a recording. So essentially, you come into the One Button Studio and all you have to do is press one button, press one button, and you kind of have the full setup for recording a video. Like I could see it being used for like practicing a pitch or, doing a recording to share with a potential client. But again, if people are doing anything related to that, I would love to hear more. Let's see. See, Kristen's talking about the digital creation spaces that they have. That's really cool. Did you want to share more, Kristen?
I can. It's simply, we have in 3 of our libraries, we have a small kind of studio that with a wall painted green, and we have the Adobe products. We have special cameras and video equipment, podcasting, quality microphones, and then we do small classes for entrepreneurs and just anybody that's interested in these sorts of projects. And we've had people actually use our studios, our equipment and resources at the libraries to promote or to start photography projects, books. Somebody did some digital art. We teach podcasting, so that all those sorts of projects. So we definitely tie those kinds of opportunities to small business for those that are interested in like using podcasting or digital design to help with promotion of a business, or maybe that's something that they're going to do with their business.
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing more, Kristen. And so this is, I feel like, already a good example of what I feel like brass members, like Emily and myself, could learn from Libraries Build Business. Because yeah, like I said, like I feel like our library of things is pretty much limited to like, I don't know, financial calculators and things like that. And I think we could probably do more. And I saw, kind of moving back a little bit in the conversation, Megan had that kind of question that I had as well. Are people already involved with brass? Anybody out there want to reveal yourself as a brass member? Yeah, I see Rosalind's comments. A member of brass once upon a time, but found it to be largely geared to academic librarians. Glad to see us working together. Yeah, this is something we've been kind of focusing on in the past kind of couple of years, is trying to make sure that the public librarians within brass and public librarians outside of brass kind of can kind of make that connection, and kind of our shared interest in supporting, business folks. So yeah, I'm also glad to have us be collaborating like this now. Ooh, here's a good question. Could anyone recommend any entrepreneurial databases outside of the more well-known ones? Reference Solutions, LinkedIn Learning, Gale Business Plan Builder. Does anyone use Statista? We don't have Statista, but I'm in like a forever battle related to that, because Statista is so good at making sure their results appear at the very top of those Google searches. I get so many questions of people saying, oh, please, like, I just need this access to Statista, and we don't have it. We can't afford it at the moment. It's just not in the cards for us. But wow, they're so good at search engine optimization.
We do have Statista, and I do love it. I mean, it really, I'll get a question and I will be pretty convinced that there's just not going to be anything specific enough, and then Statista will have at least a breadcrumb. So we're lucky enough to have it at U Chicago, but I know that, I mean, and I'm seeing more database suggestions in the chat, including some that we don't have because of expense and because of cost. So, I mean, that really, it is hard because there are so many options out there. And I used to really love using eMarketer, but I haven't had access to it for a few years for budget reasons. So I've heard maybe it's not as good as it used to be, but like up until a few years ago, eMarketer I really loved for supporting entrepreneurs. So that's another one that I can say at least worth taking a look. Again, it might have evolved in a way that its value changed, but I really loved using it for supporting entrepreneurs.
And there's a lot of good suggestions coming through in the chat from Jennifer Burns, Ibis World, Frost and Television, PitchBook, Factiva, Adams mentioning Reference USA. Jennifer also mentions Mergent Intellect. Stacy mentions Udemy and the entrepreneurial courses. Jennifer mentions LinkedIn Learning, Data Axle as well, Demographics Now. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I gotta keep going. I don't forget them all. Gale Demographics. But something that I would like to mention is that the way we're talking shop about these business databases is the exact type of thing you'd also find at a brass discussion. So we'd love to have you over there to kind of add your insights on the pros and cons of all of these. And I love, Jennifer Burns has an example of how many acres of land in Belgium are used to grow hops, and Statista, the one place where you can find that little kernel of information. And yeah, Rosalind, thank you for pointing that out about Statista as well. Often obscures the data source. Definitely found that to be true as well. Sometimes you start like digging back, and you don't know what you're going to find.
I'm like, where did this come from? And then it's kind of not listed very well. That just makes me not love it. But but Emily is right. They are great at search engine optimization, and boy, they are right at the top of every Google search.
Yeah, and I see Heidi has Jennifer shared our link to some of our LibGuides from Brass, And Heidi mentions maybe Brass could put together a listing of all those resources with maybe some editorial pros and cons, useful as a start for libraries building, updating collections. There is kind of a work in progress within Brass that might meet some of that. But what you'll find on those LibGuides also might be a useful starting point too, for at least for now, until we can kind of build out new resources. And maybe we could build something together between Libraries Build Business and Brass. Does anyone want to go ahead?
I was going to say, I love the idea of more collaboration. I think a few people commented that Brass feels more like it's geared towards academic librarians. And that was definitely my perception too. But I think even being connected to academic librarians would be really helpful for a lot of people. Like I know, for example, in Brandon's community, they use the local community college that has like the big fab lab with all of the really large scale makerspace cool stuff. So entrepreneurs that attend programming at the public library can test stuff out, and then they can be sent over to the community college, which has a lot of the bigger equipment. So even like within your community, like just being better connected between academic libraries and public libraries would really benefit entrepreneurs, maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Megan, for making that point. And I do, and you know, trust me, we know at Brass that we are largely academic librarians, but we so want Brass to be a place that public librarians want to be. So I just wanted to say that, and that saying it doesn't make it true, doesn't make it a great space for you. That's a personal choice, but and as Lauren said, we have been really, this has been a focus and a concern of ours. I mean, we've really the last few years been trying to, like our program having, you know, half academic, half public libraries. And really, again, I'm not sure if any of you saw the program this year at annual, and you know, it was unfortunate that it wasn't recorded, but it really showed those synergies that Megan was just talking about, because it just like the work that was being done between the academic librarians and the public librarians was so similar. And just, we do have similar goals, especially when it comes to supporting entrepreneurs. And so, you know, again, with, I think business librarians, it's like, we really do have common goals, common ground. So, Brazos is very interested in, again, making it a space that is more interesting and welcoming to public business librarians. So I just wanted to say that we're very open to your feedback. We do have an award specific for public librarian travel to ALA, and we'd love for you to apply this year. And you know, we know budgets are tight. The pandemic has changed everything. But you know, if you'd like to travel and you're concerned about having support to come to Chicago this year, we have an award. We'd love to give it to you. So just, I know it's early, but you know, those deadlines. So be on the lookout, and we'll be cross promoting. So you're gonna get the actual, you know, you'll get all these details later. But I just wanted to say a little bit more about that, because we do know that it leans academic librarian, and we'd really like to just make it a business librarian, which is what it is, but we'd like to have it feel that way. So just wanted to, I'm probably repeating myself at this point, but just wanted to make sure you knew we want you to feel welcome and feel like Brass is useful.
And I love some of the ways that Lauren and Emily mentioned to maybe just collaborate among LBB and Brass. So of course, the easy one like would definitely be open to cross promoting and all of that stuff. But I think something like, yeah, the conference deadline for ALA next year is coming up in September, which is crazy. But I was going to mention to this group that, yeah, we would love to collaborate. So something, Libraries Build Business, the grant program is officially over. So something that, you know, I've been tasked with thinking about for our office is what's like the next step? What are we wanting to share with the field about economic opportunity and entrepreneurship kind of more broadly, like what, like the lessons from LBB, but kind of broadening the scope. So maybe something here, you know, among this group, we could collaborate on a presentation, a proposal for that. So reach out to me if people are interested in presenting an annual next year on something related to business. And they have join Brass and get their travel fund. That would be great too. But yeah, I don't know, Lauren or Emily, if there are other things you're thinking about for that would be maybe an easy way to start collaborating and making better connections between the LBB Slack group and Brass and what's going on with you all over there. I think some of those, like, yeah, the virtual meetings and the symposiums and things, like, I think people would be interested. I know I and Rachel and I think maybe Adam attended the I think it was March 2021, we did a presentation for Brass. So yeah, some of us have had contact before, but then weren't able to kind of sustain that, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm like glad we're kind of picking it back up and, you know, trying to figure out how to make more of these connections. Because yeah, I mean, already from this conversation, I mean, we have a lot to talk about around like business databases for sure, and a lot to learn about all these great ideas around like library of things. And I feel like we're only just like getting started on the conversations. So you'll notice that Jennifer put a link to that award in the chat, so that you can take a look at that. And again, we'll make sure it gets shared with you too, closer to the deadline. But yeah, does anybody like here have ideas? Any sparks, any other ideas about ways that LBB and Brass might work together?
Did you guys talk about the new business librarians group? Because that you don't have to be a Brass member to join, right?
Jennifer, thank you. That's really important. So we have a new business librarians group. So I don't know if anybody out there, like, do you consider yourself like a business librarian or not? If you start considering yourself a business right now at this moment, maybe you'd want to join the new business librarians group. It's for people who are within their first 5 years of being a business librarian, or, you know, providing business services to their communities. It is totally open. You don't need to be a member of RUSA Brass to join. And we can provide the contact info about how you can sign up. We can put something into the chat. Let's see. So they also have that kind of similar structure where they have discussions about every month, and they're led by people who are also new to the profession. So it's very much or new to the profession of business librarianship, to be specific, not necessarily new librarians, just new to business. And so it's kind of more like learning within a group of your peers, because, you know, maybe it might be, people might find it intimidating to ask questions in front of people who have, you know, tons of experience in a certain area. So it's just kind of creating this kind of like safer community for people to learn. So I'm going to go ahead and find that info in case anyone would like to join. And again, everyone's welcome. No need to be a member for that one.
I put a link in there already for it.
Oh, Jennifer, you're the best.
You have to get permission to join. What's the process of joining? And it may look like there's a lot of academics, but that's only because they have a lot of free time and they have the identity of business librarianship. Where I know public librarians, you're not just you're only doing business, you're doing everything. So this is the group to join, to really be with a lot of peers who feel a little bit intimidated, but they're a great group. Lauren, you started the group, didn't you?
I didn't start it. I feel like Alana started it, but I think Emily and I were like we were on the ground floor. That was like, we both started in business librarianship or in librarianship around the same time. So yeah, we were involved in the early days. And it's grown a lot since then. And just that kind of like entry process, it's basically just getting access to the Google group. That's all it is. So nothing scary or intimidating there. So I see we just have a few more minutes. Megan, do you want to I don't know, take us home.
Sure.
Are there any last things out there?
Yeah, thank you, Lauren and Emily. So many great ideas and resources today. So it was really nice to connect with you both and with everyone here. I'm going to drop an exit ticket in the chat. It's just a 1 minute, well, more like 10-second, just kind of feedback on the session today. And if you have any idea for future topics, you can put it in there or reach out to me. Like I said before, any of you would be great presenters or facilitators in the future. I'd love to hear from you. So keep that in mind. And then, yeah, otherwise, join us on Slack if you haven't. Stay connected. And thank you so much for being here. Yeah, we've got a few minutes till 4:30, so I think Emily, Lauren, and I can hang out. So if other people still have things that you want to mention or questions you want to ask, we'll leave the room open for a few more minutes. But otherwise, thanks everyone for coming. And Lauren and Emily, you can share a lot of these resources and links in Slack. That would be awesome.